All right, so we're diving into sculpture today. And get this, we're using a Year 4 knowledge organizer as our guide.
A knowledge what?
Yeah, a knowledge organizer, those things they give to students in school.
Oh, right, right. Okay, yeah.
But don't worry, this is going to be a lot more interesting than a school lesson. We're going to uncover some really cool concepts, influential artists, and the magic of how, everyday stuff becomes incredible art.
I think it's amazing what we can learn when we go back and revisit the basics. Sometimes it feels like a breath of fresh air or like, a new perspective on something we thought we already knew.
Totally. So the knowledge organizer kicks off with a few key terms, like, ceramics, organic shape, and scale. But I'm kind of curious, how do these really simple ideas, how do they actually play out when an artist is creating a sculpture?
Hmm. Well, let's think about like organic shape for a second. Imagine a perfect cube, right? Smooth sides, sharp edges. Okay, now picture a piece of driftwood you might find on the beach. It's got all those, irregular curves and textures.
Yeah, yeah.
So by using those organic shapes, those natural shapes, artists can give their work a feeling of like naturalism, movement, or even emotion.
Right.
And scale does something similar. Imagine a tiny, delicate sculpture, maybe the size of your hand. Now, picture that same form, but it's huge, like monumental.
Wow, yeah.
The scale can completely change how we experience the piece and how it interacts with the space around it.
That's so true. Okay, so the knowledge organizer also lists a bunch of different sculpting techniques. Constructing, modeling, carving, and then there's using found objects. I mean, those are pretty diverse approaches. What are some of the unique challenges and possibilities that go with each one?
Oh, each technique has its own amazing story and its own way of evolving over time. Think about carving. I mean, early humans used pretty basic tools to carve figures out of stone and bone.
I can't even imagine.
Right. And then, over centuries, the techniques and tools became more refined. And, I mean, look at what we have now, masterpieces like Michelangelo's David. And today, artists have a crazy range of options, from those traditional chisels to, high-tech lasers, and they can carve all kinds of materials.
It's incredible how far things have come.
It really is. But even with all that technology, the essence of carving is still the same. It's all about carefully taking away material to reveal the form that's hidden inside.
So you bring up materials, and I'm thinking, how different must the creative process be depending on what you're working with? Like carving soap versus carving marble.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, material is everything in sculpture. Each material offers its own, unique opportunities and challenges. It kind of dictates what's possible.
Right.
So an artist working with clay has a ton of flexibility. They can easily change the shape of what they're making. But someone working with stone, they have to be way more deliberate and precise. I mean, each chip matters. And often, the material itself inspires the whole concept and how the piece is made.
That's fascinating. Okay, so this knowledge organizer includes this pretty impressive list of artists. Magdalene Odundo, Barbara Hepworth, Jome Plenza, Sakari Douglas Camp, and Ellen Atsui. What can you tell us about some of them?
Okay, let's focus on Barbara Hepworth and Ellen Atsui. Hepworth was a British sculptor who was really drawn to like abstract organic forms. Her sculptures, she mostly worked in bronze and stone, have these beautiful flowing curves that like echo the natural world. And then you have Ellen Atsui who makes these massive, almost tapestry-like sculptures, but he uses found materials like bottle caps and wire.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And his work is so intricate and textured, and he often explores themes of history, culture, and, our relationship with all the stuff we consume. They both, in their own unique ways, they transform simple materials into art that's really powerful and makes you think.
I love that. So speaking of transforming materials, the knowledge organizer has these sections on, like modeling with wire and carving soap.
Yeah.
It even gives step-by-step instructions, which I thought was so cool.
Right. And that's what makes it so interesting. These activities, they might seem basic, but they're really like gateways to understanding the big ideas behind sculpture. Modeling with wire, for example, teaches you about how to create three-dimensional forms, how to work with line and space, and how to take what you see in your mind and turn it into a physical object.
Right.
And carving soap may seem super simple, but it introduces those fundamental carving concepts: planning, taking away material, shaping, and refining.
It's amazing how even those basic instructions emphasize how important planning and visualizing are in the creative process.
Totally. It doesn't matter if you're working with wire, soap, or a giant block of marble. A sculptor has to have a clear picture in their mind and a plan for how to get there. They need to think about the form they want to create, how they'll remove or add material, and how the finished piece will interact with the space around it.
It's incredible how much thought and intention goes into each piece. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from understanding the basics to exploring different techniques and materials. This knowledge organizer really is packed with information.
It is. And I think the big takeaway here is that sculpture is all around us,
Mm,
from the monumental sculptures we see in public spaces to the everyday objects we use. Art has this amazing power to change how we see the world.
I love that. I hope this deep dive has kind of inspired you to look at the world with a more artistic eye.
Yeah. And the next time you see a sculpture, take a moment to really look at it. Consider the materials, the techniques, the scale, the form. Think about the choices the artists made. What story are they trying to tell? You might be surprised by the depth of meaning and emotion you discover.
That's such great advice. All right, everyone, that's it for our deep dive today. See you next time.